75 in Dunwoody, Lilburn, and Midtown. More news at 11:30. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Steve Summers, 95.5 WSB.
Well, would you look at that? This is the Nightcap with yours truly, and most importantly, your buddy, Jared Yamamoto. This is my new talk show, typically heard Saturdays from 11 to midnight, right here on 95.5 WSB. And I have to open with a confession, my friends. I usually start building my Nightcap about 12 hours before airtime. So usually around 10 or 11 o'clock, my wife and I are having coffee at the house, and I'm like looking for things. And I'm like, hey, that'd be great for the Nightcap. This would be a great thing to talk about. Or, oh, we missed this during the week on the Von Hessler Doctrine. This would be a great thing to talk about on the Nightcap. And I just have to say this. Sometimes I get behind this WSB microphone, and I will plan out a great show. I have a great show planned out for all of you. But I open up Google, or I open up my various AI and search engines, and a story just pops up that just blows you away. And this story is wild, bizarre, and magical, and we have to open up with it. And the only way that I think I could have missed it is because I've had such a crazy weekend so far. Number one, my little brother, who is living abroad in Scotland, he's in veterinary school, flew in with his girlfriend last night, and we went out in Atlanta last night for a little bit. Nothing crazy, but he is on his way to Hilton Head now, so we had company over at our place, and maybe that's why I missed this story. But he was at the house. Then after he left earlier this morning, I went to a baby shower that had over 80 people at it. Over 80 people at this baby shower. And at one point, I looked over at my wife and I said, don't get any ideas, because, we're in that age where we're starting to think about having kids. I don't think it's going to happen in the next couple of years, but it will certainly happen maybe a few years. Not a couple, but maybe a few years to give a little bit. You can start putting your hedge bets out there and see when the Yamamotos are going to start having kids. But 80 plus people was a lot. Again, had a wonderful time at the event, but I've just never seen a baby shower with that many people. So along with having company and going to this baby shower, then a buddy reaches out to me and he says, hey, around like 5-ish, I got a comedy show I want you to go to. You want to come with me? And I'm like, sure. So I literally have done all of these things all weekend, and somehow I missed this story. So I have to go on and open up the...
It's the news of the night.
Because this story is just too good for us to sit on here. Number one here from the New York Post. Stressed adults rely on pacifiers to soothe themselves. Quote, I feel a sense of safety from childhood. And I looked at the story and I'm like, this cannot be real. And you know what? I'll even say this. We haven't done this segment in a while. It also fits into a... So not only is it part of the news of the night because people are actually doing this, but it is also a TikTok trend. And that, by the way, that sounder... brought to you courtesy of the washed-up pop star Kesha, who was in Atlanta this past Thursday. So I guess she's not as washed up as she used to be, but at least we can give her credit for providing that sounder to us there. But this story here, again, adults are trying to help deal with their stress by sucking on pacifiers. The article claims that it started in China, and you can pay anywhere from $1 for a pacifier to up to $70. And then you read further into the article, and it says on TikTok, because of the success in China, Americans are starting to use it as well. And also people in Europe and Canada and whatnot. So people in the Western world are starting to become more encouraged to use pacifiers to calm themselves down because the world is too much. Let me just tell you this. Number one, for the Chinese to claim that adult pacifiers is a new thing is completely incorrect. Let me reveal something about myself. I have been going to concerts and music festivals for a long time, since I was probably about like 19, 20 years old, at least for the festivals, probably concerts around the 18, 17 years old. And I will tell you, if you go to a specific type of show, there used to be some adults that would be rocking these pacifiers because they would be there and they would be inebriated on things they shouldn't be using while at this show or while at this club. So this is something that comes out of that culture that is now spread into the stress culture, where now, because in China people are so stressed out, we need to be able to do it here in the Western world, and we need to make it trendy and cool. So number one, you're picking up on a trend that is not new. And then number two, you're doing something absolutely stupid. I even think it's ridiculous. I have at my desk at home, I have a little stress ball that occasionally I use while just reading some of the crazy news that's out there. And I use it. But for me, I feel like an idiot squeezing a ball trying to relieve stress. I feel like this is the dumbest thing ever, that people are actually thinking that, well, because of me and my stress in my life, if I suck on this pacifier, it's going to make me feel better. Get out of here. Get out of here with this nonsense here. There are other ways to deal with stress. And also, the other thing about a lot of these TikTok videos, which I didn't even pull because they're so obnoxious, is everybody feels like their stress is so much more than your stress. I got news for you, ladies and gentlemen. There is stress across the board. I saw earlier that this was an article from The Telegraph, that they're now calling this Trump's redneck recession here from The Telegraph. And again, I don't like the language of that, calling it the redneck recession, but there is some truth to that. And I think even just being out with my little brother last night for a little bit, I kind of could get a sense that people aren't feeling as comfortable. And I know I talked a lot last week about recession indicators, but what I'm here to tell you is that a pacifier for adults is not going to be something that actually helps you in the long run. I do think what you have to do is you have to find some sense of community during this time. You have to find people that you can rely on, whether it's family, whether it's friends, whether it's your spouse. You have to find ways to spend time with the people that you love, so that way you're able to disconnect from your reality for a little bit. Disconnect and allow your brain to heal and allow yourself to recoup and recharge. And that is the best advice that you can have out there. Now, there are a couple other trends here that kind of fit into this TikTok on the clock, and kind of I fall in the same category as this adult pacifier. Number one, I want to get to this lady here. This married couple. This is a headline from Upworthy.com. A married couple swears by the 3-hour-a-night guide as a relationship game changer. And I've actually got some of this audio. Her name is Rachel Higgins, and she talks about how when she gets done with work, her and her husband used to get into this routine where they would put their kid to bed, and once the kid was to bed, they would just spend hours and hours on their phone, which for me, I think some people have the ability to spend hours and hours on their phone and not get tired or mentally exhausted or jealous of other people. I do think that there is a way to do that. But however, for other people, that's not the same case. Like, I find a lot of relaxation playing PlayStation 5. I find PlayStation 5 to be incredibly relaxing. I know this week I made it a point not only to play PlayStation 5, but I also caught up on the new King of the Hill, the new season of Wednesday, season 2, and the latest South Park. So you have to find ways to break away from your normal routine. I think for a lot of people, when they pick up the phone, especially after a long day, and they spend hours and hours just scrolling, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, all the different places, I think that it's not a nervous tick, but it's going that direction if we keep doing that. And so this Rachel Higgins, she goes on TikTok and she talks about offers her advice on what married couples should do at night to break away from just scrolling on their phone at night. And there are some things I agree with her, but other things I'm just like, I don't know if I agree with her. I'm going to play a little bit of the audio. It's a long cut here. So, Jason, if we need to pull it down, you just give me the signal over there, buddy. Jason, by the way, is flying the Nightcap ship tonight. He's making sure my voice gets to each and every one of you. Here is TikToker Rachel Higgins talking about this.
So we started doing something that we're calling our 3-hour night. We need to think of a better name. But anyway, so what we do is after my daughter goes to bed, which is normally around 7 p.m., we take an hour. So the first hour is our productive time. So we start with a quick cleanup of the kitchen or just things that accumulated throughout the day. And then we try to do something
not doing that
either got has been being put off, cleaning the bathroom or organizing.
I'm not taking assignments from my wife. Sorry.
Or something super random, sharpening our knives. I don't know. Anything that's productive for the household. So that's the first hour. And then the second hour, we're dedicating to our marriage. So during this time, we like put our phones down in a way, like we're solely dedicated to each other and to our marriage. So
great. That's a great idea.
Like taking a shower together or having fun together, doing like playing a game together, or just like anything that's gonna get you guys talking and connecting, or like debriefing from the day, or just like talking about what you're doing, like the plans for tomorrow.
Okay,
or, like,
okay, we get it.
Or whatever.
What's the third thing?
Anything that's gonna connect and like strengthen and build your marriage. The last hour is an hour to yourself. So this is a time where you can do whatever you want for yourself.
Yeah, okay, we get the idea there. We get the idea. An hour for yourself there. So I agree with hours 2 and hours 3 of this idea that this Rachel Higgins has put together. She's gone viral on TikTok for this. But the idea of after a long day, especially if you have kids in the house, having an hour where you have to do even more chores, no thanks. Don't do that to people. Don't give your spouse homework. Nobody wants to do that. You want to make your spouse go and buy that adult pacifier I was just talking about? That's the way to do it right there. Don't give your spouse homework. I would never do that to my wife. I would never expect my wife to offer me homework too. You have to both collectively come together for a moment in time and say, hey, this is the time to do it. A lot of times for my wife and I, what happens is on Wednesdays, for example, on Wednesdays, we both kind of look at each other and we're like, hey, the house probably needs to get cleaned up. We're expecting people this weekend, and we need to make sure that it's ready to go. So usually on Wednesdays, we're good to go. I know that children will change the game. I am still childless at this point in my life, but I'm here to tell you, I agree with some things that this Rachel Higgins is putting together here, but I don't agree with it fully. When we come back, believe me, I've got some big political news. I've got some Georgia stories, but the story I definitely want to get to is single women are using the dating app Hinge to get their furniture built by their matches. I have so much to say about this, and thankfully we have plenty of time here on my Nightcap, and my Nightcap is brought to you by the great folks over at Guardian Home Experts, Heating, Air, and Plumbing. They are wonderful. They sponsor this here show. Make sure you give them a call if you need any help with any of your HVAC or cooling needs, and this here Nightcap will be right back in just a few minutes. And just like that, we're back. It's the Nightcap with yours truly, Jared Yamamoto, and I'm on every Saturday from 11 to midnight right here on 95.5 WSB. And if you like what you've heard tonight, be sure to give me a follow on my socials at Jared Yamamoto, Yamamoto. That's my last name. Or if you have any comments on anything that I may have brought up on the show, you can also leave open mics on the WSB radio app. All right, so let's go through a couple of these trends that I'm poo-pooing so far. The number one trend from the first segment. Again, stressed adults rely on pacifiers to soothe themselves. This is a new trend on TikTok, and Jared's answer is no, don't do it. This came out of concert and music festival culture. This is not new. You're not original. The Chinese did not come up with this, and it's not some kind of remedy. Do not suck on an adult pacifier. No! Number 2, the other trend we're talking about here. A married couple swears by their 3-hour-a-night challenge as a relationship game changer. I'll give half of one there, not a full one, because the first hour she made a list for her husband to do, and I would never make a list for my wife to do, and I would hope my wife would never create chores for me to do during the week. And before I get to this next story where single women are using Hinge to get their furniture built by matches, I have to talk about this because I know that this week we had a lot of the schools in the metro area go back, and now starting really on Wednesday this upcoming week, you have a lot of the colleges going back to school. I know that for my alma mater, the University of West Georgia, go Wolves, the move-in day was yesterday and today, and I believe UGA followed the same schedule that we did. And there was this major controversy where I got an email. I'm part of the Alumni Association. I always want to help out my Wolves as best as I can and support them any way that I can. And my way of supporting is trying to provide internships. I think that if I can help somebody get a good job in the future, or at least push them in the right direction, I'm doing my part as an alum to the University of West Georgia. But oftentimes I'll get these mass emails. It's not directed at me, but I'll get these mass emails where it's like, hey, Jared, we need some help making sure that the pack gets unpacked. Help unpack the pack was the subject line. And I was thinking to myself, and I may have brought this up on the Nightcap, maybe it was on Von Hassler Doctrine before, but part of the magic of going to school your freshman year is carrying up all of your goods, every last suitcase, up all those stairs from your parents' car to your dorm room. That is your responsibility. Do not ask me, who is already an alum of the school, who already tries to help out as much as possible by providing internships. I donate to the school every now and then, and I try to be as good of an alum as possible, but I would never be the one helping carry people's suitcases and goods and shower caddies up to their room. I'm not doing that. How dare you ask me to do that? Now, there is some very positive news from West Georgia that I will bring up very quickly here. Huge news for all the alum over there. So we're now on an accelerated path to join Division I by fall 2027. Translation, it usually takes 4 years. They actually went Division I last year, but with all of their athletics, now they will be on an accelerated program where instead of a 4-year grace period, it's now a 3-year grace period. So only the best go west. Super proud of my West Georgia Wolves. And don't ask me to unpack the next freshman class next year. You have gone way too far. Ask for my money, but don't ask for me to help unpack the pack. All right, let's get to this story here. This is another New York Post story here. Single women are using Hinge to get their furniture built by their matches. And for me, I actually understand this here. And King of the Hill actually did an episode on this earlier this week where I think a lot of people are looking for conversations. They're looking for an excuse just to get somebody to hang out with them. It doesn't have to be out on a coffee date or out at the bar. And for a lot of people, I think building things is difficult. And I'll be honest, like when it comes to building furniture, it's kind of a guilty pleasure of mine. My wife knows this very well. She knows that if she gets like the IKEA furniture pack or something like that, she's like, oh, I know that Jared's going to put it together. So I can understand why ladies would want to have some of their things together. The thing that you have to watch out for as a man is to make sure that you are not being taken advantage of. And some of the examples cited in this article are absolutely hilarious. But of course, the limits of the radio world are being put on me right now. You probably need your news, weather, and traffic. I will grant permission for WSB to give you that news, weather, and traffic. So when we come back, I'll get into some more details of that. And I realized I have so much audio in front of me that we're going to do a little audio that Jared likes, all after news, weather, and traffic. More of the Nightcap after that.
74 in Fayetteville, it's 75 in Decatur, 74 in Brookhaven, and 78 right here on Peachtree Street. More news we at 12 o'clock, breaking news when it happens. I'm Chip Canales on 95.5 WSB.
I am a man of my word. You got your news, you got your weather, you got your traffic, and now you got your old buddy Jared Yamamoto, and this is my Nightcap. And if you've liked what you've heard tonight, we'll make it a point to come listen to me every Saturday from 11 to midnight right here on WSB. Or, of course, you can grab the podcast version of my Nightcap. It drops every Monday afternoon wherever you get your podcasts. Your WSB Radio app, WSBRadio.com, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the different places. Or give me a follow on all of my social media accounts. Now, I feel like I need to get to this Georgia news, but I've teased this damn Hinge story so much here, and I was kind of getting into it here. So if you're just tuning in, the story is that single women are using Hinge to get their furniture built by their matches. And for me, a lot of people would expect my reaction to be, well, how dare these women take advantage of men that are just they're just trying to get stuff built around their house. And I feel like it's an issue that starts at a young age. I feel like a lot of young girls are not taught to build and to fix things. And I know that if I have a daughter, I think one of the things I would like to teach her, obviously if she's interested in it, I would try my best to at least teach her how to be somewhat handy, whether it's hanging pictures. Some of the examples that were cited in this article were anything from buying plants and hanging pictures. And I think for a lot of people, it's not that it's a lost art. It's not that it's difficult to do this stuff. I have buddies that are so much more handy than I am. But what I have found, especially now owning a house for the first time, is that if you do a home project and you mess something up, I have found that it is pretty easy to put things back together. And I don't know if this is something that just maybe impacted me when I was growing up, but for the longest time, I was afraid to change things in my house, in my room, because of the fear of what other people would think if I messed it up. And as an adult now, I'm like, you know what? If I mess something up, like, for example, like I have some stairs in my house and I hate how my shoes scuff up the stairs. So I painted over them, but I painted the wrong color by mistake. I grabbed the wrong paint can out of the garage and I grabbed the wrong paint color. My wife was so cool about it. She's like, oh, okay, you just paint over it. It's okay, no worries. And I ended up finding the right paint color and painting all over it. And I think if both men and women were just cool with this and understood that if you just take some time to learn how to hang some pictures or to, in my case, build IKEA furniture. I know my wife hates to build IKEA furniture, but I enjoy it. I find it to be kind of like a puzzle. I find it to be somewhat therapeutic to put this stuff together. And I think that if more people just tried it and understood that it's like, hey, it's like more like a playground. If you mess up, it's not that big of a deal and you'll get your money back, or there's a way to reset it and get things back. Now, I get it. That doesn't apply to everybody's situation, but I think that would certainly help young women that are struggling to get stuff built around their house, and why people are using apps like Hinge to get handymen to help get things done. And King of the Hill did a great episode on this where essentially, without spoiling any of the episode, Hank Hill is called, he's like a handyman, and he is called into fixed jobs, and people were wondering like why he was wondering why he wasn't getting 5 stars for just doing the job, when in reality a lot of the people just needed somebody to talk to. So I do think that conversations naturally start. And I know, like, anytime I had a project in my house or anytime my parents had a project at their house, I often would make friends with the contractor or the friend that was working on it, and just, you would start natural conversations. A good place to have a conversation. So I know many of you expected me to poo-poo the story, but I actually applaud these ladies for trying to find, number one, a new way to converse with interested partners. Number two, I also think, though, that it's important as a young woman, and I think teaching my daughter growing up, what I'm going to make sure I do is I want to at least try to teach her to be a little bit handy, whether it's hanging pictures, bookshelves and stuff. I'm not saying that she has to be 100% into it and has to do it, but I would like to at least try to teach her those things. All right, now let's get into some of these Georgia stories here. Now, this one I feel like is a little bit low of a number here. This is a Lending Tree study, and it shows that 7.7% of Atlanta workers have more than one job, and that's well above the national average. And I have to say, I think that this number is low here. These are only people that are reporting that they have a second job. I know people that have jobs all over the place, and this kind of goes into that snarky headline that I read in the first half hour from the Telegraph. Trump's redneck recession hits the working class the hardest. And I know that people get critical of me when I'm critical of Trump. I get it. I hate the argument, well, he's better than Biden. He's better than Biden. Yeah, I agree with that. I think so far the Trump presidency has been better than the Biden presidency, but not by a lot. I'm not impressed so far. I think he could be doing so many better things. And even just being out in Atlanta last night, you could tell that people were not out and about like it used to be. And I think that, again, this is not 100% Trump's fault. I think I've made this very clear over the past couple of weeks. It is not 100% Trump's fault. But some of the things that he is doing does tend to help the wealthiest Americans. And that's just the fact of things. And I just get very annoyed with people that are just like, well, he's better than Biden, and you just need to understand that. And I'm like, well, if you're building data centers in Georgia, do data centers really employ that many people? I mean, I'm happy to get, extra employment in the state of Georgia, but is it really a lot of manpower? Or are like robotics and AI facilities, all these factories that are being built, are there really a lot of men and women that are getting jobs at these facilities? It's yet to be seen so far. And I'm here to tell you, again, this number here from this survey is that 7.7% of Atlanta workers have at least one job. I think it's higher than that. I think a lot of people have side hustles that they keep under the radar. And that's just the reality of things. That's just that people are trying to make ends meet. Things are expensive. I mean, even going out to eat last night was well over $100 for just my wife and I, and we didn't necessarily eat a lot while we were out. So I just want to caution people before they start going after like, well, how could you be such an idiot like that and think like that? I'm like, look, people are struggling, and I think there is a way to come out of this on top, and I think Trump has a path to really help the middle class. I'm not as down on him as some of the other people are, but I do think that when you see stories like a generation is turning to buy now, pay later for Botox and concert tickets, I mean, that's ridiculous. People should not be saying doing a payment plan for Botox and concert tickets. I mean, I went to a concert last weekend. I went to Rod Stewart, and oh my God, it was so expensive. I cannot believe how much people are paying for these tickets now. All these concert tickets are expensive, and people need to find outlets. And I know that everybody's got different kinds of outlets, right? But there has to be some way for people to find a cheap alternative to get out and allow their brain to decompress. It goes back to that story that I opened the show with, the bizarre story that I had no intention of talking about, where stressed adults are relying on pacifiers to soothe themselves. This is because people don't have outlets. And if all the outlets are so expensive for people to do, then you're going to have a very stressed society and a very upset society. And again, this is not 100% on Trump. I'm hoping I'm very clear on this here. It's not 100% on Trump, but he certainly has to take some responsibility for the current economy that we're in. And I'm just sick of it. Well, Jared, he's better than Biden. Yeah, I agree with you. It is better than Biden so far, and by a little bit. So there's room for improvement there. All right, a couple other Georgia stories that I want to get to here. Number one, I saw in the Georgia race here that in the Georgia gubernatorial race, that Democrat Michael Thurmond, the former DeKalb County CEO, announced his plan to run for governor of Georgia. Now, he is a great candidate on the Democratic side. He's run a county before, and even though philosophically I disagree with him on a lot, I mean, in my opinion, I think he's already jumped to the top of that field. And in other, political news here, I saw that Jeff Duncan, who did the infamous jump over from support for Trump to support for Kamala Harris in the last election, he was the former lieutenant governor. He is now fully jumped over from Republicans to Democrats. So he's officially a Democrat now. I'm not surprised by that headline. I think the biggest one from the week was Derek Dooley announcing that he's running for Senate here in Georgia. And at least he didn't misspell anything like Mike Collins did. Mike Collins infamously, when he announced his gubernatorial run, misspelled Georgia. I'm not going to let that down. That's a big deal. That's a big deal that you didn't watch your campaign ad enough to see that Georgia was misspelled. Buddy Carter, I had the chance to meet him here at WSB very briefly. Seems like a nice guy, but just philosophically, man, these hardcore Trumpers really, really bother me, because I just wonder, at their core, do they really have values that they stand for? And for me, it's all about who the person truly is. And so for Derek Dooley, I know I teased on the Von Hessler doctrine this week that he was the former coach of the Vols, and for a Tennessee Volunteer, or a former Tennessee Volunteer head coach, to run for the Senate race in Georgia, that does make things difficult for him. But I am going to try to listen to him a little bit. Kemp doesn't have the best track record endorsing candidates, but he seems to like this guy, so I'm going to at least hear him out a little bit. And he was complimentary of Trump in his ads, because that's what you have to do in this political climate. Look at this. I didn't mean to talk that much about Georgia stuff, so I wanted to go on and get into
audio that Jared likes. It's the audio that Jared likes. Only the best will pass his tests. Audio that Jared likes.
Yes, lots of audio that I like. Again, people often listen to my Nightcap and they think, Jared, you're really hard on Trump and you're really hard on Republicans. Well, remember, this is what's happening on the other side of the article, on the other side of the aisle, and they're not helping themselves. This is Representative Jasmine Crockett talking about Trump earlier this week.
Listen, Donald Trump is a piece of Okay, we know that. Yes. He is.
Not helpful. Not helpful. Doesn't convince voters like me to go and vote Democrat when I hear commentary like that. Also, Representative Al Green doing the same thing that hasn't worked and will not work. Trump is not going to get impeached before 2028 unless he does something absolutely ridiculous. And I'm saying that in all caps on the radio. Absolutely ridiculous. And I mean, it has to be insanely ridiculous for him to actually get impeached and removed from office. But this Representative Al Green, man, every second that he breathes, all he wants to do is just go on and impeach Trump again. So bravo, Democrats. Bravo, bravo. What a message to bring people over to your side. Bravo. Way to care about the working class here.
I will not stop, and I promise you, this president is going to, he's going to be brought down. Yeah. He's going to be brought down. He has to be brought down. And I don't mean physically. I'm talking about politically. We will bring him down. He will be impeached again. I thank you.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Bravo, Al Green. Yes, you're going to try to impeach him again, and it just becomes a political stunt as it has been from the very beginning. So I will go right where I started again just before getting into some of the Georgia political news there. Again, I'm not loving what Trump's doing, but it is slightly better than Biden. And if you come at me and say, but better than Biden, I still think it could be better. I am trying to hold him and his presidency to a higher standard. There are things that I believe in philosophically that I think he can do that can truly help the United States of America. When we come back, I am seeing the open mics coming in. I'm pissing people off. I'll play some of these open mics off of the WSB radio app. I've got even more audio, some more stories, all this nonsense when the Nightcap with Jared Yamamoto returns. And thankfully, we're brought to you by the great folks over at Guardian Home Experts, Heating, Air, and Plumbing. It feels like we just get going here on the Nightcap with Jared Yamamoto, and then I look up and it's already the last segment. So if you have any questions on anything that I brought up tonight here on the show, feel free to give me a follow on my socials at Jared Yamamoto. And of course, the podcast version of this show does drop every Monday wherever you get your podcasts. Just look for the Nightcap with Jared Yamamoto. And of course, your Saturday nights should always be here from 11 to midnight on 95.5 WSB. Some more audio. We're in the audio that Jared likes here. Open mics are coming in. This is regarding the data center talk that I brought up earlier, and this open micer wanted to weigh in.
Hey, Jared, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up?
I can tell you for certain that there are companies within data centers that have just hundreds, if not thousands, of devices, cell phones, tablets, laptops that are open and running constantly, and just go from video to video to video and like it, subscribe to it, heart it constantly.
I believe it. I believe that people are using a ton of energy with the data centers. My biggest concern, and what I brought up earlier, was that when you hear about these data centers opening up, I know Amazon's planning on opening up one in Lamar County. I saw that earlier this week, and we have several. I mean, when you fly into Hartsfield-Jackson, it's amazing how many data centers you can see while landing at Hartsfield. And I just don't know exactly how many jobs these data centers are creating. I think overall, it is a good thing to have some jobs compared to no jobs, but I would like to have lots of jobs instead of some jobs. And then you get into the cooling component of them and the water usage. My whole thing is that with data centers, the water does get cycled out of them. I'm not necessarily worried about the environmental side of things. I'm worried about the actual number of jobs that are coming to all these data centers that are setting up shop here in the state of Georgia. Appreciate your open mic, by the way. I also want to get to this piece of audio here. I know it's political, but it is pretty funny here. Way to put a lot of pressure on our future Olympians in the 2028 Olympics here, Trump.
America is a nation of champions, and in July 2028, we'll show the world what America does best, and that's win. We're winning like we have never won before. You see that all the time.
Yeah, you're right. We usually see that. We usually win the medal count, and if it's a great year, we usually get the medal count and all of the gold medals. So I don't know what he's talking about there. Way to put pressure on our future Olympians. Way to make things political during the Olympics. There's nothing worse than when the Olympians are being political during a moment where it's supposed to be the world coming together. And the biggest question is going to be whether or not Russia is going to be involved in that or not. Or who knows? Maybe we don't even make it to 2028. I sure as hell hope we do, but you just don't know what the way things are going. All right, I did mention earlier in the show that I watched Wednesday Season 2. I watched The New King of the Hill. and the latest episode of South Park. So let's end doing a little...
What's Jared watching? Is it a movie or is it a series? Is it good or is it bad? What's Jared watching today?
Not a lot of time, so let me start with South Park. Number 1, episode 2, season 27. Brilliant! If you have not watched it, it is absolutely brilliant. If you're thin-skinned about the president, you're not going to like it, but the jokes they make are hilarious and so well thought out. The Charlie Kirk jokes, the J.D. Vance jokes, they're fantastic. I highly recommend that episode on Paramount+. Wednesday, season 2. I'm catching up on season 1, rewatching it a little bit. So far, it's a little bit slow, but I am enjoying it so far. I do recommend it for the Jenna Ortega fans out there. And King of the Hill, man. Like, I grew up a little bit later for that, but I am enjoying the hell out of the new King of the Hill on Hulu. So I recommend all 3 of those series that are very, very different. My biggest question about Wednesday season 2 is why is it perpetually fall all the time in any New England place? But that's a real question for any movie that's shot in the Northeast. That is our time for tonight. Thank you so much for hanging out with me here on my Nightcap. It's always a pleasure. Give me a follow on my socials at Jared Yamamoto. And I want you to do 2 things, ladies and gentlemen. Number 1, don't do anything I wouldn't do. And number 2, please be safe out there. And I'll see you Monday on the Von Hessler Doctrine. Have a great night.